Marketer of the Day, episode 542. Attract, convert, nurture, free plus shipping offers, value ladders, and online sales funnels with Kev Charlie.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're chatting with Kev Charlie, and Kev Charlie is the founder of the Addicted to Marketing podcast and the wildly successful Kev Charlie motivational page. And Kevin helps entrepreneurs make more and work less so they can spend more time with their loved ones. And he helps entrepreneurs get their time and freedom back without any stress by adding smart funnels, smart systems, and smart teams into their business. And I'm sure we'll dive into what those things are. So Kevin, glad to be talking to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Robert. Appreciate you having me on the show. I've loved everything you've been talking about. And oh my gosh, I think we're on episode 520 or 530 now. It's just incredible following you along now.
Yeah, mid 500s somewhere. But you know what's funny about that is I feel like even that's not enough. I feel like even I'm not doing enough. And I'm sure that you have your own insecurities and your own feelings about podcasting. And I'd like to dive into that sort of stuff. So, I mean, just to kind of get us kicked off here, what's on your mind lately? Like the last 30 days or so, what are you blogging about or learning about, or what's on your mind these days?
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, you can't shut me up about sales funnels. I mean, I'm sure any good marketer may have heard of ClickFunnels in that community, and I've been just falling in love with that, and alongside of podcasting. Like I used to be a huge blogger, but I've slowly watched it transform into podcasting. So we actually just created this entire new system because I have a team of about 3 or 4 people. And we've been actually converting our blog posts into podcast episodes, and that's been really fun. And then also, I also have this, we like to call it a funnel building agency. So we've been building sales funnels for people, and I'm sure we'll dive into what a funnel is later, just in case some people don't know.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you as far as blogging turning into podcasting with people using their mobile devices and things like that now. Who wants to read on a screen? Better to just speak it out. It's easier for everyone, easier for you to make, easier for other people to listen to. And so, yeah, sales funnels. So, like you said, just in case people aren't quite up to speed on what a funnel is, or maybe they've been caught in the hype and the buzzwords, and maybe things have gotten so far along that they keep hearing funnels and talking about funnels, and now it's too late for them to ask. So when we're talking about funnels and ClickFunnels and things like that, in your own words, can you catch us up and tell us what that means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So so it's really funny. Long story short, I came from Instagram. I actually created a very, very large Instagram motivational page called The Sweaty Dollar. And we actually built over 200,000 followers, just like purely with celebrity photos with motivational quotes slapped on the top of them. And it was the funniest part because that's a very, very beginning step of a funnel. What I like to call it's a three parts. So there's the attracting, there's the converting, and the nurturing. And Instagram, I mean, just starting from there, it really helped me nail down what that first step was. I mean, you got to figure out what people want, right? I mean, it's just so important because you can be like, where are we going to get the traffic from? That was Instagram. But at the same time, you have to have an offer. You have to know what your target audience is interested in. And I was in the motivational niche. I really like to use this example. And I had to find out what gets them kicking in the morning? What gets them up? What gets them out of bed? I mean, the first thing I feel like maybe you do, Robert, I know I do. The first thing I do is I bust open my phone and I look at something to try and get me kickstarted for the day. It's like the modern day coffee for me. But so first it's 3 steps. So there's the attract, then there's the convert, and then there's a cultivate. And a funnel, just like you imagine like a funnel, funneling everything into one area, it's a system. So you have to figure out what that target audience has, and then you have to figure out how to capture that customer. So whether it's their credentials, like their name and email and credit card credentials, or actual capturing the sale, and then you have to learn how to cultivate them. So afterwards, I mean, you don't want to just watch that customer walk out of the store and you never see them again. Like you need to be able to follow up with them, whether that's by email or SMS, like text messaging or messenger bots, things like that. So you're not leaving any money on the table.
Well, great explanation there. And I mean, you're so right in that you need all those components. And as you're describing that, it seems like for a lot of people that mindset could take a lot of the pressure off, because it's easy to mix up the forest and the trees, right? And say, I have to have all these pages in place in my email system. But when you say you need to attract and get your traffic and then convert with an offer and then cultivate and nurture and things like that, then we can focus our energy on these different buckets. And we know easily if we're missing some of those pieces in the puzzle there, to mix my metaphors. And so you talked about, so you built up this huge Instagram motivational page, Sweaty Dollar, 200,000 followers. And there's some interesting stuff about that. Like, number one, I'm right there with you. I also get my day started with something to amp me up. Like this morning, I was having a little bit of trouble getting out of bed. So I took my phone, I typed in YouTube, like wake up hypnosis, and just played some 9-minute thing that I hadn't heard before, just to kind of get, and I closed my eyes and listened to this, and I think it worked. Either it worked because it was good, or maybe I just believed that it would work, but either way, got the job done. And so there's a couple things about that. Like, one thing is that it seems like it's really easy to get a lot of attention to like the generic motivational stuff, like you said, a celebrity with a thought-inspiring quote on top, and get all these likes. But then have you come across this problem where you get all this activity on Facebook or Instagram, but then when it comes time to bring people to that next step in the funnel to get them over to a web page, does it seem difficult, or does it seem like getting people off of that app onto a website is sometimes really hard, or you get a really low percentage of that?
Yeah, it's exactly true. I mean, just for Instagram, for example, I mean, you may only get, it depends on how sweet and juicy your offer is, but you may be only getting like 5 or 10% of the engagement of your posts that actually will click. So a lot of times on Instagram, the best way to get someone to your website or to the start of your funnel is like, hey, click the link in my bio. And now there's another way, for example, in Insta stories, similar to like Snapchat, and actually Facebook has stories as well. There's the whole thing where you can say, hey, swipe up and you'll see my blog post, or you'll see the page to get my book at. And it's very, very difficult to get people to actually get people to go over and take that next step. And what that really comes down to is what I like to call the value ladder. And it's something that Russell Brunson also talks about of ClickFunnels. And it's so important because a lot of people, they get confused. They're like, well, I'm starting my business and I have my social media side of things, but I don't know like what to create, like what to sell. Should it be services or should it be a product? Like, depending on what niche you're in your business. And the best way I like to look at it is imagine like a ladder, like the rungs of a ladder. So you're grabbing onto that first rung, and then you have to reach up your hand and reach onto that next rung. And the very beginning rung is normally what I like to call, like, we'll just go along the lines of an information product, for example, a free plus shipping offer. So all the craze right now is these people are saying, I'm actually working on it on myself because I just finished writing a book, but is the free plus shipping offer. And it's you giving away something free, like a book, and then you just ask for the shipping cost. And you make the shipping cost something a little higher, obviously, to cover the shipping, and then a bit or part of the actual cost to print the book or the cost to produce whatever physical product it is. And that's the very first rung. So that rung you may be breaking even on. And this is where funnels, that whole 3-step thing, the attract, convert, and nurture, comes into play, because you get them to work on that first rung, purchase the first rung, and you break even. And then immediately the funnel, it comes in and offers them a second tier product. So it might be like a mini course for $97, or it might be even a middle tiered course for like $497. And as soon as that's where the game completely changes. So they'll immediately be offered what we like to call an upsell. And then if they purchase that, because you've already purchased that first, the customer, whether it's with traffic or you got them organically off your Instagram account, then they have the option to buy that second thing. And that's what makes that's how you can get more value out of those customers or your followers, because it's so hard, like you were saying, to get those people off the Instagram account in the first place.
Okay, great. And I mean, so a bunch of interesting things in there. Like, one that I heard from you right off the bat is have in your description or say on social media, click this link. And I think that so many people forget to even asked to click the link. They just think that someone's magically going to find their bio or their about page or go on there. But I mean, even in this day and age where sometimes some of these platforms like Facebook and Instagram, they want you to stay on the platform. What I'm hearing from you is don't be shy to have that link on there. And then, so send them to this free plus shipping offer. So that way, if I'm understanding you right, people can order like a book for $7, $7 all inclusive, right? It costs you $7 to print and ship the book, so you break even on that, and then immediately give them that $97 or that $4.97 offer right there. And something that was really interesting and important, what you said right there, is give them that upsell immediately. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes it might even be getting the free book, or it might be opting into something digital for free. And sometimes someone will say, great, you just opted in for this thing. And I'm like, but what if I want to buy something right now? Now I have to wait around for your 5-day sequence to finally getting around to offer me something. So I think that's really important, is that you're saying give someone an offer right away because they got that little bit of excitement, that little dopamine hit of getting the free thing first, and then now you can give them the chance to get something else. And so I've used ClickFunnels a little bit, and so my understanding with that, and like correct me if I'm wrong because I'm honestly asking here, someone enters in their credit card details and their mailing address and all that on the free plus shipping page. And then when you offer them the full-on $97 course to buy, that can be a one-click upsell, right? Like their credit card details are already on there, so they can just click one button, less barrier to entry, right?
Oh yeah, that's where the magic starts to happen. Because I mean, if you're just imagine a Shopify page where you're, for example, you need to buy some shirts, and then you go to the brand site and you see like rows and columns and rows of all these different shirts. You buy your shirt and you're done, right? I mean, there's nothing left. But exactly what you're saying with ClickFunnels, you enter your credit card in, like the customer enters their credit card information, their credentials, everything you need. You can have a little box that they simply check on the checkout if you want to bump the offer up. And there's so many different ways you can do it, but exactly, you have this. It's called the one-click upsell. Since you already have their credit card information, it's brilliant. And ClickFunnels is actually, they're working on something right now on your phone, and they've mentioned it just briefly because it's not out yet. But you know how they have like the facial scanning and the thumbprint scanner? Well, they're actually coming out with this thing where you can do a one-click purchase. You won't even have to enter your credit card information anymore, or your name and your address or anything, because all that stuff is linked in our phones. Like Apple's got that stuff. So they're making it even more simple to buy this stuff. And can you imagine, like, you're one thumbprint away from your purchase? Imagine how easy it is to continue offering them different services, different products along the line after their purchase. It just increases. See, the reason this is so important, because advertising is getting more expensive. I mean, everyone's heard of that Facebook slap coming around. I think by 2019, advertising costs will have increased by 100% just to start. I mean, Facebook is moving towards bigger brands, and they've had their fill of the little guy. It's so funny. Like, we tend to help get the company started. Like, we helped Facebook get off their feet when they launched their IPO. They weren't making money, and all of a sudden they're kind of kicking us to the back burner, and they want to focus on bigger brand advertising. But that means that Facebook slap is coming around. So we need to learn how to increase our average cart value. Because say we pay $10 or $12 for a customer, well, we need to figure out how to be profitable even when it costs $24 for a customer for our product. And the way you do that is by having these upsells, like these one-click upsells you're talking about, because we paid for that customer. Now we can increase our average cart value. So say our average cart value was like $20 and we're like $10 in the green. Well, all of a sudden we're not going to be profitable anymore, right? If they increase our ads. So if we have like a one-click upsell and all the customer has to do is click one button and their average cart value jumps to $40, well, we're in the green again, right? We're not going to go out of business. So that's wonderful news, and that's why funnels are so powerful.
Well, you're blowing my mind here. Yeah, I'm excited, and I didn't even know about that. So I'm looking forward to that too. When ClickFunnels hooks into Apple Pay if they're on a phone, or Google Pay if they're on an Android phone, or if or it's like, or sort of like the platform ManyChat for Facebook chatbots recently announced that they'll take payments. And imagine if ClickFunnels figured out a way to interface with that somehow, where you could they could get the free plus shipping offer, or they could buy something and then the chatbot reaches out and says, hey, do you want to get this other thing for $20 and pay over Facebook Messenger, and hooks into your ClickFunnels account. I mean, that's just going to be some mind-blowing stuff. And as you're explaining all these possibilities here, what's also coming to mind is that we'll be ahead of our competitors too, because like, as you know, like the advertising costs are going to increase, like we're saying, and then everyone's going to jump on here. But if we can be more on the cutting edge, then we can outbid all those competitors. Like you said, if we're making $40 a person instead of 20, then we can say we have more options. We can say, well, we'll pocket that money, or we'll turn around and like double our ad bid and outbid everyone and get more traffic and just like pour gasoline on that thing. And so, when you're talking about these different like free plus shipping stuff, or the like the tripwire, or the more higher ticket stuff to buy there, something that strikes me is that you might have seen some of these people, they'll draw like these crazy silly like funnel diagrams and kind of geek out about it, and they'll draw these diagrams and they'll just write numbers. They'll be like, well, here's the free, here's the 97, and I'll look at that and I'll be like, but what's that offer? Like, just selling something for free or 97 or 497, that's great, but they're not just going to buy any which thing. So do you have any thoughts on that? Like, when you make that free offer or that 97 offer, do you have some kind of a process to make sure that that's going to be a really hot offer, or is that just a matter of trial and error? Or what are your thoughts on that, as far as like having an offer that's not just here it is, it's 97, but something that people actually want?
Yeah, exactly. No, I know that's a huge roadblock and obstacle when people come to the table and they're finally ready to sell their product or services. It really depends. I mean, obviously, there's two different examples here. Like if you're selling like a physical product, like e-commerce, you have to make sure your margins are working, like however much it costs to create the product, to the ad spend, and then the amount to ship it. Like, you have to be green. So your product has to be a certain price range in order for it to work. Like, you have to be in the green. But when it comes to information products, it really, honestly, I believe, like, it's something I've been actually writing about in my book, is that your price doesn't matter. And the thing that's so powerful about that is I feel like so many people, and this is something, I mean, I did when I first started out. I was looking at every single other person's product, like what other information product they were selling, and I was like, well, I have to price it around something that's close to this. And then the problem was I ran into other people who were selling their courses for like $29, and then I ran into different people who were selling their course for $997, almost $1,000, and it just like, I just wanted to hit my head against the wall. And so what I learned was, this is so important. So I was like, why is this person selling for $29, and why is this guy able to sell for $1,000? And where should I sell? Where do I fit in this? And something I began to learn over the years in my process of online business was the power of brand. So like I like to say is, you don't want to try and just copy and imitate what other people are doing. Like, you need to go out there, you need to build your own brand, you need to be unique. Like, we don't need another Gary Vaynerchuk, we don't need another Tony Robbins, we need you. And the best, most freeing part about that is people want you. I mean, that's how Gary Vee, for example, got out there in the first place. He was telling people, hey, well, you need to play your strengths, you need to be vulnerable, you need to be yourself. And that's something that is so important. And it really helps you realize that, hey, this pricing, I need to be in this specific price range. Like, I'm not going to be able to sell my course right off the bat for $10,000. But at the same time, you need to understand, like, hey, it's not so much about the price. It's more so about how I'm positioning myself, who I'm selling to, and what my target audience is. And that's where you really find the power in pricing.
Well, great. So it sounds like it's somewhat of a journey where you start off by putting out what you're going through, and almost like a journal, a diary, as far as the marketing you put out there, and you just kind of figure out what people want. The longer you're in it, the longer you see the competitors, and it sort of works itself out there.
Yeah, no, because I actually had a $500 course myself. And I guess I should jump a little bit into my story and how I got to where I came to be, because I jumping on those podcasts, and it's like the guy never explains who he is, and I'm like, why should I be listening to him? So let me tell my story. Long story short, so I actually came from a brick and mortar business, building elevators with my father in a 7-figure business. So I was like making $250,000 deals, because elevators, as you imagine, are very, very pricey. I mean, we need to make sure everything's perfect and the public stays safe. But I came from a very, very pricey business, 7-figure business, to start my own online. And I felt like I was just in this completely different world. I didn't have a lot of, like, I want to be honest here, I didn't feel very confident. And I want to be vulnerable there, because what I was teaching wasn't something I was exactly amazing at yet. Like I was just got into blogging. I was just figuring out this content marketing world, like how to build my brand, what I could even possibly sell. And I started out selling things for really, really cheap, like ebooks in a little video course for $7. And I was really kicking myself in the butt. And eventually I got to the point where I actually invested in myself, and I bought this course teaching how to create a course, like very meta. And I sat myself down, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I created this course, actually how to create a blog and start a profitable blog. And I was going to sell it to stay-at-home moms, because they were all over Pinterest. And I'm like, no one's hitting Pinterest. I'm going to hit Pinterest. I'm going to be the king of it. I'm going to sell this course. And oh my gosh, it turned out to be a major flop. So I sold it for $500. I made 2 students. I mean, it took me a while, but I created a webinar and finally got 2 students. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. And I was kind of panicking. But what I learned was why figuring out some people call it a customer avatar. I like to just say it's your target audience. Like, who are you targeting? Like, who's your ideal customer if you could serve anyone? But what I learned was, hey, these stay-at-home moms, they're clipping and cutting coupons. They aren't necessarily gonna invest $500 to learn how to blog and to be profitable at it. So it was one of my most major painful mistakes that really, really taught me to dive in headfirst to figure out who my target audience was, and then you can begin to price accordingly, because the stay-at-home mom isn't going to pay as much as, say, a doctor is, or an attorney is for some type of service, or even someone who's learning to build funnels for the business. Like, people, that's why it's so important to figure out who you're serving. But moving right along from there, I eventually moved my business. I pivoted my business. That's the best thing with online business. You can pivot. No one even knows overnight if you failed or not. But I pivoted to building this team up around funnels. So I fell in love with funnels. I actually dove into this book called Expert Secrets. Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels wrote it. And now we've created we've created a lot of funnels, but we've actually created 2 different business funnels that made over 7 figures. And it helped us get this very honorable reward called the 2 Comma Club Award. And that's like the 2 commas are for $1 million. But that's pretty much where I'm at now.
Super cool. I feel like Russell Brunson should sponsor this episode. We're mentioning ClickFunnels, Expert Secrets, and even like...
I swear I don't work for him.
but I mean, close enough. But I mean, a good example of just having that hot idea that everyone gravitates to, and even the micro story you put in there about how you got from point A to point B. That's sort of like the... he has a concept called "don't sell to broke people." So same sort of thing of, like, you might say, "Oh, this is some untapped market, Pinterest," but if they don't have the budget for that, then you can work as hard as you want, but they just don't have the money for that. But the lesson I'm hearing from Well, a couple lessons there, right? The first lesson is that freedom is more important than money, that you had your family business, but if you'd stuck to that, it sounds like you would have been miserable. It's more fun to build something on your own and make your money that way. And that way you get that sort of, you get those choices in life, and you're not just kind of stuck on a 9 to 5 job, or maybe even more hours. And it doesn't even matter how much money it is, you still can't do what you want. And then the other big lesson I'm hearing from your journey there is to move fast and make the mistakes early, and to see things through, and don't be one of those people that always creates new projects and has 10 things going at once and nothing's done. Actually finish those things that you start, so that way you can get to the finish line and see how something's selling, or try out different traffic methods, or talk to those customers and figure out if you need to pivot, just sort of like how you pivoted from the teaching how to create a profitable blog, which is like sort of questionable, because if someone's a work at home mom, like you said, clipping coupons, you say, give me $500 to make a blog. Well, yeah, but how am I going to make my money back on that blog? I'm already clipping coupons. But if you say, I'll teach you how to make this funnel, and then you can make all this other money back, well, now we're really talking. So a few things now that I want to ask you about. So you mentioned that you have this book that you're working on, and we know that you have this podcast that you're building and that you have live, and also you're guest starring on other podcasts like this one, because Courtney introduced us. So can you kind of talk to us as we're kind of getting into the final minutes here about some of that stuff, about sort of like you're building all these things that are, it's like more long term, right? You don't see the immediate profit back in 2 days when you say, I'm going to write a book. That might take months. You don't see the immediate profit when you're building up the podcast audience or going on other podcasts. So, I mean, what's your plan, and what are your thoughts? And I guess most importantly, how do you keep yourself motivated and going when you're doing all this sort of long-term stuff?
Exactly. Well, it's definitely playing the long-term game. So a lot of people, I mean, you hear it time and time again, you have to have an audience before you can sell a product. Like, you can test different products and you can test different things to see if people are interested. But at the same time, you have to have that brand like we were talking about, and you have to have that audience. So the whole reason I'm actually writing this book, and the reason I started my own podcast called Addicted to Marketing, is because I want to build that tribe of loyal people following me who love my story, who love what I'm doing, and would follow me through thick and thin. And I mean, I've been, like you said, I've been through that hustle, like 24/7 mindset, and I'd done the family business where I was literally working 11 hours a day, and I had enough, and I wanted to go out and do my own thing. But the reason it's so important to start out with these things that may not have a ROI, like a return on income right off the bat, is because you do have to give in order to receive. Like I always like to say, you have to have an open hand in order to receive. And that's the reason, like, I'm sure you started this podcast in the first place. It's got so much value. Like, you're trying to give and build this audience. And you do have this awesome, loyal following around your podcast who are literally click on anything you publish because they trust you and they love you. That's the same reason I'm writing this book. And it's the same reason I have my show. And it's the same reason I'm doing these things that don't necessarily pay off right at the bat. And the way I stay motivated with these things is because I've gone out and I've tried like the get rich quick. I mean, I hate to admit it. I've tried to go out and get rich quick, and it doesn't work. Like you really do have to start from like ground zero, day one, and you have to figure out like what you're about, like why you're doing what you're doing. Like one of my mentors, Akbar Sheikh, he says you have to figure out your why that makes you want to cry. And that's just, it hit me like a brick. Like I realized like I have to figure out like why I'm waking up in the morning to do this. And once I figured that out, once I figured out my mission and my brand, it helped me figure out what I needed to create to build that loyal following around me. And so I am creating that. The book does not have a title yet, but you can get on the wait list by going to kevcharlie.com/free book. And the podcast, just like yours, I mean, you've got this incredible information coming out, Robert. I do have one epic piece of blog content that we transcribe into that I actually turn into a podcast, and you can see that at addictedtomarketing.com. And of course, you can totally reach out to me personally on Facebook. Just search Kev Charlie. I would be honored to, if any of your audience, if anyone that follows you on here has any questions about funnels or anything, I'd love to help. I'm just here to serve. And yeah, I appreciate it, Robert. Thanks for having me on.
Super cool. I appreciate you too. So just to recap, just so that people have those URLs, that's kevcharlie.com/free book to get the as yet untitled book right now, addictedtomarketing.com to tune into the podcast, and then reach out on Facebook at Kev Charlie. And so as we're beginning to close things up here, Kev, so you said that it's important to just not copy everyone else, right? To be yourself. There's only one of you. Gary Vee is all about that sort of stuff. There's no need for any more Gary V's. So as far as standing out and differentiating, so that way you're not just the guy that recommends ClickFunnels or recommends funnels in general, like what would you say that you've done or are on track to, so that way you stand out? Like what's your unique sort of shtick there?
Yeah, so my brand, we're all about making more and working less so we can spend more time with our loved ones. And I feel like the secret is really, the secret is honestly, it's a process. Like when I first started out, I was like, hey, should I do this or should I try this? And you get that overwhelm and you just freeze and lock up and you end up not doing anything at all. The thing that helped me the most was to realize, hey, I'm not going to nail this down day one. Like I need to figure out like what I'm passionate about. I mean, in my specific niche. So you niche down, figure out what I'm going to do in my specific niche, and then look around and see what other people are doing, and then try and find a way you can be unique. Like you don't want to just, like you said right there, we don't need another Gary Vee. So figure out what your passion is and figure out what your why is. Like, why did you even get into this in the first place? And for me, that was, hustling. Like I started out hustling 24/7. I had that hardcore hustle mindset, and I needed to escape it. Like I realized, like, hey, I'm gonna be 65 and retired, and like no one cares if you're the richest guy in the graveyard. Like no one says on their deathbed, oh, I wish I was in the office a little bit more. Like no, like because I just realized, like, hey, the whole reason I'm starting this business was to have more time with my family. And that's what I want to give people. That's why I want to teach people how to do funnels, how to build systems, how to build their teams out so they can have more time with their loved ones. And once I figured that out, that was when the entire game changed for me. And that's when I figured out what my brand needed to be about.
Super awesome. So what I'm hearing from you is work smarter and not harder. And you're making me flash back a little bit to when I was maybe 10 or 12 years old, and I was on a canoe trip. And we were in this lake, and this kid next to me asked one of the adults, like, well, how deep do you think this lake is? And the adult's like, oh, I don't know, 200 feet. And suddenly the kid seized up. And I'm thinking, what's the difference? If you fall out of the boat, if it's 10 feet deep or it's 200 feet deep, I mean, you're still going to drown. And in the same way, it's like once your needs are met, you live in a house, you have a car. You could get a bigger house or a nicer car, but you can only live in one house at a time. You can only drive one car at a time. And you build a bigger house, well, you can only be in one room at a time. So a lot of people think that, you know, if they just had millions and millions of dollars, then everything would change. But I mean, you only have so much of that money that you can use or spend. And so, yeah, you're so right that it's not just about the bigger number, but what the heck are you gonna do with it? And so also one last thing. So we were talking about your service that helps people put their funnels together. So is that the kind of thing that can be found on addictedtomarketing.com? Is there a link? Or if someone says, you know, I like what Kev has to say about funnels, I want him to set up a funnel for me and my business, where can people find out about that part of what you do?
Yeah, so you can actually just go to kevcharlie.com and sign up and just click the reply button when I shoot you an email. Or even better yet, you can go to Facebook, search Kev Charlie or search my Marketing Addicts Facebook group, and you'll totally find me on Facebook. And yeah, we actually have, I'm actually working on this funnel for this realtor, and it's crazy. Like funnels are getting mind blowing right now. Like actually linking the funnel side of things with the messenger chatbot side of things is just like, it's the way of the future. And yeah, we build funnels. We've built 2 7-figure funnels, and we've got 2 seven-figure 2 Comma Club awards. We're very proud of the team and I. And yeah, you can totally reach out to me on those 2 places, like on Facebook, and just search Kev Charlie. Give me a holler. I'd be glad to let you know what we can do for you and your business.
Super fantastic. So that's kevcharlie.com, and then also add him on Facebook at Kev Charlie, and why not just do it on both? That way there's double the ways that you can contact him and hear about what he's going on. So he's got that personal touch. So just shoot him a message any which way and say, impress me with your funnel. Show me your real estate funnel. I want to use chatbots. I want to do all these things that it would take me a lifetime to learn. But instead, Kevin and his team can jump in and work their magic, push the buttons, and create the funnel, create the business of your dreams. And so, thanks a bunch, Kev, for stopping by, and you can find out about Kev at kevcharlie.com and addictedtomarketing.com. So thanks, Kev, and for telling us about funnels and about your story and just giving us the information we need and the motivation to keep on going. So I really appreciate all that stuff.
Yeah, thanks so much, Robert. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to today's program. Start from the beginning or view past episodes at marketeroftheday.com/episode.